I always thought the worst thing that could happen to a cab driver was a drunk passenger puking in the back seat, or some jerk running off without paying. But I could never imagine that one evening my name would be on the news as the main suspect in a kidnapping. A kidnapping, for God's sake. It doesn't even sound real until you see your own face on the TV screen while the anchor calmly says, "This man may be dangerous." And you're just sitting in your kitchen with cold pizza, trying to convince yourself that they're not talking about you. That night was nothing unusual. Evening shifts are the most profitable, people heading back from bars, restaurants, dates. Easy cash. The orders were piling up one after another, and I barely had time for a smoke. Then came a request. A young woman from one of the upscale neighborhoods. Usually, those rides are simple, polite, quiet passengers, always glued to their phones. That's exactly how it went. She got in the back seat, didn't even look at me. I started the car and drove toward the address she'd entered in the app. On the way, I noticed her nervously typing messages. Sometimes smiling, then biting her lip like she was worried. Not my business, I just had to get her from point A to point B. The trip was short, maybe 20 minutes. We pulled up to a regular block of apartments, nothing special. She paid through the app, didn't even make eye contact, and hurried out. I turned around and drove off without thinking twice. Just another passenger, just a few more bucks in the pocket. The next day my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. First, a buddy. "Dude, have you seen the news?" Then my mom. Panicked. "What happened, son? They say you kidnapped a girl." I had no clue what was going on. I turned on the TV, and there it was, my profile picture from the app. The anchor explained that last night a young woman went missing after taking a cab, and the last time she was seen was with me. My stomach dropped. My head was pounding with one thought. This has to be a mistake. It has to be a mistake. But the news doesn't lie, right? I sat there watching my life fall apart in real time. I had no lawyer, no connections, I was just a regular driver. And suddenly I was a dangerous suspect. I stepped out onto the balcony for a smoke, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the cigarette. The neighbor who'd waved at me yesterday now wouldn't even look my way. I could feel it already, people looking at me like I was some kind of monster. And the thing is, I hadn't done a damn thing. I just drove her home. That's it. The cops showed up at my door the very next day. Not the friendly knock kind of visit either. They came in hard, like I was some drug lord with an arsenal hidden in my closet. Neighbors stood in the hallway, peeking out like vultures. The officer read me my rights while another went through my apartment, like I might have stuffed a missing woman under the couch. I kept saying the same thing. I dropped her off, she got out, I drove away. That was it. But the look on their faces told me they weren't buying it. Down at the station, they grilled me for hours. Same questions over and over, like they were hoping I'd slip up. Where did you take her? Did she say anything? Did she seem scared? Did you notice anyone following? I repeated my story until my throat was dry. The problem was simple. I was the last person seen with her, and now she was gone. It didn't matter that I didn't know her, didn't touch her, didn't even speak to her beyond hello. The facts lined up too neatly against me, and I could feel the trap closing. By the time they let me go, my name was already plastered online. News articles, Facebook posts, people sharing my face with captions like, "Beware," and "Monster on the loose." My profile in the taxi app got suspended within hours. No explanation, just gone. Overnight, I went from working class nobody to the villain of the week. And once the internet decides you're guilty, good luck convincing anyone otherwise. My mom called again, crying this time. She begged me to tell her the truth, like deep down she thought maybe the cops were right. That cut worse than the interrogation. When even your own mother doubts you, what's left? My friends weren't much better. A couple texted, "Hang in there, bro." But most went quiet. Silence is louder than words sometimes. I couldn't even leave the apartment without feeling eyes on me. A trip to the corner store turned into a nightmare. Whispers, stares, someone muttering, "That's him," under their breath. I paid for my groceries with shaking hands, wondering if this was how it was going to be forever. Branded, hated, alone. At night, I replayed every second of that ride in my head, trying to find something I'd missed. Maybe she'd said something, a hint, a clue. Nothing. Just silence and the glow of her phone. That's what killed me, the sheer normalcy of it. One moment it was just another ride. The next I was America's favorite suspect. Sleep didn't come easy. Every creak in the building sounded like footsteps outside my door. I'd wake up sweating, imagining cops breaking in again, imagining reporters swarming my hallway. The worst part? Deep down, a sliver of fear grew. What if they never found her? What if she was really gone? Then no one would ever believe me. That was the first time it hit me for real. This wasn't just bad luck. This was a war I had no idea how to fight. The days after that blurred together into something between a nightmare and a waiting room in hell. Every morning I'd wake up, check my phone, and there it was. Another headline with my name. Another thread online tearing me apart. People I'd never met had theories about me. They dug through my social media, twisted old photos into proof of whatever sick story they wanted to believe. Some said I was part of a trafficking ring. Others claimed I'd been stalking passengers for months. None of it was true, but the truth didn't matter. The clicks did. The police came back, this time not with questions, but with suspicion dripping from their voices. They searched my car, pulled apart the seats, swabbed for DNA like they'd find something incriminating. I watched them from the curb, helpless, while neighbors gawked like it was free entertainment. One guy even filmed it, probably threw it up on TikTok before I got back inside. The humiliation was constant, public, and impossible to escape. I tried calling the taxi company, begging them to at least let me explain. The customer service rep sounded robotic, reading off a script about safety concerns and pending investigation. That was it. My only source of income gone in a flash. Bills started piling up. Rent, utilities, car payments. Every envelope in the mail felt like another noose tightening around my neck. The worst part wasn't the cops or the media. It was the isolation. Friends avoided me like I was contagious. Calls stopped. Invitations stopped. Even my mom, who used to call every night, began spacing out the conversations, her voice quieter, as if she wasn't sure who I really was anymore. I could feel her doubt through the phone. It broke something inside me. Nights were the hardest. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the ride over and over. 20 minutes. That's all it was. 20 stupid minutes that turned my life into rubble. I thought about her face, lit by the glow of her phone, about how she never once looked at me. Was she texting the boyfriend she disappeared with? Was she already planning her little vanishing act while I drove? Every unanswered question gnawed at me like rats in the walls. Then came the threats. My address leaked online, and the messages started rolling in. Some were just insults. Kidnapper, creep, burn in hell. Others were darker. Promises of violence. Warnings to stay away from their daughters. I stopped checking most of them, but the fear stayed. Every knock on the door made my chest tighten. I started keeping a baseball bat next to the bed. And yet, through all the chaos, a single thought haunted me. What if they never found her? What if she was gone for good? Then I'd carry the stain forever, no matter what the law said. Once the world decides you're guilty, no courtroom can set you free. It was around that time I realized survival wasn't just about staying out of jail. It was about holding on to my sanity. Because slowly, painfully, I was losing both. 2 weeks into this nightmare, I was sure I'd never see daylight as a free man again. The police called me in once more, and I braced myself for the worst. An arrest, formal charges, maybe even a cell waiting for me. I walked into that station already rehearsing what I'd say to some court-appointed lawyer. But something was different this time. The detectives weren't pressing me like before. Their tone wasn't sharp. It was cautious, almost uncertain. They still didn't smile, but I could feel the shift. Then one of them leaned back in his chair and said it. They had a lead. Apparently, the missing girl had been spotted in another city, alive and well. No signs of struggle, no signs of danger. Just gone. My heart raced as he spoke, half from relief, half from rage. If she was alive, then what the hell was all of this? Why had I been dragged through hell? The next day, it broke in the news. She hadn't been kidnapped at all. She'd run off to see some guy, her secret boyfriend. A messy love affair, hidden from her family, and when she disappeared, she spun a lie instead of admitting the truth. She told her parents she'd been forced into my cab, that I'd driven her off and she never made it home. That one lie was enough to unleash the avalanche that buried me alive. The media scrambled to clean up the mess, but it was too late. My name had been dragged through every corner of the internet, my face plastered as the villain. They didn't post corrections with the same energy as the original accusations. A tiny article here, a quiet update there, but no one was shouting innocent as loudly as they'd shouted monster. I sat alone in my apartment watching the coverage, my stomach turning. Relief should have washed over me, but it didn't. I wasn't free, not really. My reputation was in ruins, my job was gone, and the people who'd believed the worst about me weren't suddenly going to change their minds. I'd been branded, and some scars don't fade. Still, the truth was finally out there. And for the first time in weeks, I could breathe without feeling the walls closing in. The cops admitted I was cleared. No charges, no trial, just sorry for the inconvenience. As if they'd lost my luggage at the airport, not gutted my entire life. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat on the balcony, chain-smoking, staring into the dark. She was out there, laughing in some hotel room with her boyfriend, while I sat surrounded by the wreckage of her lie. I couldn't decide what hurt more, the weeks of terror, or the realization that one careless story from a stranger could destroy everything I had built. For the first time, I understood. Being innocent doesn't mean you're safe. The official statement came out a few days later. The girl had been located, unharmed, staying with her boyfriend the whole time. The police confirmed I had nothing to do with her disappearance. They cleared my name, closed the case, and basically patted themselves on the back. For them, it was just another file wrapped up and shoved in a drawer. For me, it was supposed to be the end of a nightmare. But life doesn't work like that. Sure, I wasn't a suspect anymore, but the damage was already carved into me like initials on a tree. When I tried calling the taxi company to reinstate my account, they gave me the same deadpan answer, "We'll review your case." Weeks passed and nothing. Who wants to climb into a car with the guy who was once labeled a kidnapper, even if it turned out to be a lie? Safety is a brand, and my brand was ruined. I tried to explain things to people I knew. Old friends, neighbors, even family. Some nodded like they believed me, but I could see the hesitation in their eyes. Doubt has a way of lingering. Once someone imagines you as a monster, they can't fully erase that picture. A friend even said, "Well, you gotta admit it looked bad," as if that justified the mob tearing me apart. And then came the financial ruin. No job meant no money. My savings evaporated fast, lawyer consultations, bills, food, rent. I sold off some stuff just to keep afloat. There were nights I sat in the dark because I couldn't pay the electric bill on time. The humiliation of it all weighed heavier than the debt itself. I hadn't just lost my job. I'd lost my place in the world. When the girl's family finally admitted she had lied to cover up her affair, it sparked outrage, but only for a second. The headlines weren't as juicy anymore. Nobody cared about the innocent man who'd been destroyed. They cared about the scandal of a teenager sneaking off to see her secret lover. I was yesterday's story, forgotten, except by the people who still whispered when I walked by. But there was a twist. Her family got slapped with charges for false reporting and defamation. They had to pay fines, publicly apologize, the whole 9 yards. Watching them squirm on TV should have felt like justice. Didn't. Felt hollow. Because while they got a slap on the wrist, I was left to clean up the mess they'd made of my life. No amount of money from them was going to fix my reputation or erase the weeks I spent as the villain. I kept thinking about how fragile it all was. One accusation, one lie, and everything collapsed. It made me question everything I thought I knew about fairness, about justice, about the system. Innocence didn't protect me. The truth didn't protect me. Nothing did. Still, somewhere in the ashes, a part of me hardened. I wasn't going to let this be the end of me. They'd already stolen my peace, my work, and my trust in people. I refused to let them take my future too. But standing up again after you've been knocked down that hard, that's the real test. After the dust settled, I was left with silence. Not peace silence. The kind that follows an explosion when your ears are still ringing and you're not sure what's left standing. I spent weeks pacing around my apartment, staring at job applications I knew would go straight in the trash the moment someone Googled my name. That's the curse of being publicly accused. You don't get to start over. Your digital shadow follows you everywhere. I tried applying for other driving gigs, food delivery, courier jobs, anything that would let me put gas in my tank and pay the rent. But background checks and reputation systems are merciless. A few companies flat out rejected me. Others ghosted me entirely. I even considered selling the car, the same one I'd scrubbed clean after the cops tore it apart. But giving up my wheels felt like surrender. Bills kept coming, and I did what I had to do. Odd jobs, handyman work, under-the-table cash. Anything to stay afloat. Every time I handed over my ID, though, I braced for the look. Sometimes they recognized me, sometimes they didn't. But when they did, it was always the same. Hesitation, suspicion, like they were wondering if they should be alone with me. I learned to live with that look. My mom eventually came around, apologized through tears for doubting me. She said she knew I was innocent, but fear makes people believe the worst. I wanted to forgive her completely, but something inside me had cracked. Trust isn't a light switch you can flip back on. Same with friends, I lost more than I kept. People don't like being near scandals, even when the smoke clears. The girl, the one who caused all of this, she went back to her normal life. Sure, her family paid fines and their reputation took a hit, but nothing close to what I endured. She wasn't branded for life. No one followed her home whispering, "There she is." She disappeared from the headlines, while I stayed etched in people's memory as the guy accused of kidnapping. And yet, I had to keep moving. Sitting in bitterness wasn't going to pay rent. So I started documenting my story, writing it all down, raw and unfiltered. At first it was just therapy, a way to dump the poison out of my head. But then I thought, maybe if people heard it from me, they'd see the damage a single lie can cause. Maybe it could clear the stain, even just a little. So I wrote. Every detail, every humiliation, every sleepless night. I didn't pretty it up, didn't exaggerate. Just the ugly truth of what it feels like to be innocent and treated like a criminal. And for the first time since it all began, I felt like I was clawing back some control. Still, no matter how much I wrote, no matter how much I tried to rebuild, the question lingered in the back of my mind. If it could happen once, what's stopping it from happening again? It's been months since the nightmare ended, at least on paper. No charges. No police hovering outside my door. No reporters chasing me with cameras. To the outside world, the case is closed, justice served. But the truth? For me, it never really ended. I still catch people staring sometimes, like they're trying to place my face. Maybe they recognize me from those news clips, maybe they're just guessing. Either way, I feel it, the weight of suspicion that never fully goes away. Once you've been painted as guilty, even when the truth clears you, the stain doesn't wash off. The girl's family paid their fines, gave their apology. The courts called it punishment, but it was pocket change to them. She slipped back into her life with barely a scratch. Her friends, her family, they moved on. She lied, I suffered, and now she gets to laugh with her boyfriend while I rebuild from rubble. Tell me how that's justice. I did rebuild, though. Slowly, piece by piece. I found work here and there, enough to keep the lights on. I kept writing, turning my story into something people could read, something that might make them think twice before rushing to judgment. Some nights I imagined standing in front of every person who called me a monster and asking them one simple question. What if it was you? What if one lie was enough to make the whole world turn on you? The truth is, the system didn't save me. The police didn't save me. The news didn't save me. Time did. Time revealed the truth, and even then, it didn't heal the wounds. I learned the hard way that being innocent isn't enough. You need proof, witnesses, luck. Without it, you're just another headline waiting to happen. So yeah, I'm free. Free but changed. Free but cautious. Every passenger I see now, if I ever drive again, I'll wonder what story could they tell about me? What lie could they spin? And how fast would the world believe it? That's my story. The story of how one night, one passenger, one lie turned my life upside down. A story I'll never escape, but one I can own by telling it myself. If you made it this far, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. Because if nothing else, maybe my pain can serve as a warning. That innocence doesn't protect you, but truth, told loudly enough, just might.